is without you, and so we're grateful that you have tuned in. You could have tuned in, and that's the thing about online. You can go wherever you want to go, wherever you want to go in the world, but you stopped by to be with us today, and so we're grateful. We're grateful to have you. Grateful to have you. Before I begin, I just want to give it up for our tech ministry. Our tech ministry is amazing. They're an amazing group of people who have put on an amazing, you can do that for them. We have an amazing live stream, and I'm telling you, it's one of the best that I've seen, and so we're grateful. And those folks that work the cameras and they work the slides and things of that nature, we don't really recognize them a lot, but I want to tell them thank you so much for what they do. For all of you that work on that, we're grateful. And that ministry is led by none other than Mike Corder. And Mike Corder he's the brain, and they are the people that just make it happen. He says, hey, I have a vision, and they say, all right, we got it. And so they're an amazing group of folks that are smart in that area, smarter than me, I would say. So that's always a good thing, because I'm not as smart when it comes to that kind of stuff. But to the word, God's design for the family. We talked about this last week. We started this whole ideal, and one of the things that you're going to notice is within the first two messages of this series, we are going to be exploring the ideal marriage, the ideal thought process entering into marriage, and we're going to explore the ideal family. So I want us to understand that we're starting off talking about the ideal, right? The goal of the series is to explore the ideal, but I'm not going to stop there. We're going to keep going, because also we want to deal with the reality of many families of our society. Like, everybody does not always have the ideal circumstance. And because everybody doesn't have the ideal circumstance, it does us no good to talk about the ideal and just walk away. So we have to begin to address the reality of where some folks are, and where some families are, and where some marriages are, and that's okay. And if you want to consider this our marriage seminar for the year, great. Here's our marriage seminar for the year, or our family seminar for the year. However you want to look at this, we're going to deal with the reality of family. So on the 18th of August, I'll be at the point where I began to talk about children and trauma. I want to be able to talk about that. I want to be able to talk about how marriages struggle, and how marriages deal with certain things, and how marriages get over, and how families experience some things, and how families get over that. We want to be able to address every single aspect of marriage and family. Okay? And so on the 18th of August, I just want to put it out there that I'll be actually doing some preaching when we're talking about kids. I'll be doing some preaching with our youth minister here. And he has a very good tune and good touch with that subject. And so him and I are going to sit, and we're going to have some conversation about it. And we're going to present that Sunday. And I believe that it's when we deal with the real, when we deal with the reality, I think it all works out for the best. Don't mind my kids. They do what they do. I don't have my ideal family is my ideal. It's within my own head, though. All right. So, verse 24. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh, right? And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Let me begin by telling you what we dealt with last week. Here is the 67-second recap of last week. You ready? Here we go. God is the ultimate architect of the family. Everything goes by, and everything should go by, and the right way to do it is to go by God's design, right? So from the very beginning, God created man and woman to complement one another and to form a union that mirrors his relationship with his people. God wanted the relationship, the relational picture, to be between man and woman, to mirror his relationship to his people. So before you can have a family, we talked about this last week, you have to obtain a marriage with the opposite, right? That's what we dealt with last week. And so once two complementary pieces come together, you have the basis of the family unit. You have the foundation of the family unit because they're coming together in the sight of God with the blessing of God, and you have the basis for the unit. You have the foundation for the unit. What is that foundation built on? First of all, it should be built on mutual love. We're coming together not because we have to, but we're coming together because we love each other and we want to do life together. That's the first reason. The second reason is that we come together with mutual respect. We cannot, and as I said last week, just because the woman was created second does not suggest that she was the lesser creature. We come together mutually loving each other, mutually respecting one another, mutually committed to each other, right? It's all a mutual thing. We're doing it together. We're saying that I don't want to live my life without you, right? So I want to show you this. In order for marriage to be successful and for family to be in a good place, there is a shift, verse 24, that is necessary in our primary relational allegiance. Has to be a shift. And that's what verse 24 is showing us, that when you get together, and I could talk to you about the history of it not being the woman who leaves, but it's actually the husband who leaves his father and mother's house and he cleaves to his wife. And I could tell you that, but let me say it this way, that at some point in your life, the leaving that's described in verse 24, you have to connect it to a physical and emotional separation, right? So when I leave, when he left, he's saying not only am I leaving physically, but I'm leaving emotionally, right? Because I am forming a primary relational allegiance to the person that I say I want to do life with. Now, don't get it twisted as to what I'm saying to you, because this does not mean that you must abandon your parents. It's not what that means at all. What that suggests is that you are making the commitment to your spouse as being your primary concern. Does that make sense? So no longer is mom satisfying the will of mom and dad my concern anymore. My concern is that I want to satisfy my wife, and if there is any room left over, maybe I can give you some satisfaction. But if I can let you in on a really interesting secret, is that once you finish satisfying your spouse, there's no more room. The cat is out the bag, right? There's no more room. I've done everything that I can. I've gone to the umpteenth time. I've been on my umpteenth chance. I have no more room to satisfy nobody, right? Because here it is. One of the things that I love about the Bible is that for Adam, this was easy, right? Because he didn't have a father or a mother. Super easy, because he had nobody pulling at him, tugging at him, asking him, when you coming home? Asking him, where you, come on, y'all got these questions before? Why y'all doing me like that? They're not asking you what you gonna be doing or calling you up and spending, and I'll never forget, my dad and I, we used to, during the daytime, he used to just call me up and I'd say, hey, how you doing? Oh, nothing, what y'all doing? Oh, nothing. And we would literally sit in silence for a whole hour and a half while he did what he did, while I was doing what I was doing. And then at the very end, he'd say, what'd I call you for? I don't know why you called me. And typically, I would give him time when I was away from Tam, because when I was with her, it was hard to give her the attention. And y'all, come on, help me. She's watching this somewhere, so y'all gotta help me. What this does suggest to us, though, is that every time we have opportunity We should let our spouse know that they are number one in our life. Every time we have opportunity. The saying goes, I don't love you less. This is what you got to tell people who are still looking for you to satisfy their void. When you get married, the saying should be, I don't love you less, but I just love them more because God has called me into this space in life with them. I don't love you less. I just love them more. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Okay, that's okay. That's okay. All right. So here are some of the characteristics of a good marriage. Characteristics of a good marriage. It's going to involve three things. And some of you may say it involves more than that, but I chose three for time purposes. Number one, unity. Characteristics of a good marriage. It has to be unity. We are unified. We are not just uniformed, right? You can be uniform without having unity, and I guarantee you, uniformity will show up when it's time for unity, right? So it has to have unity. Second characteristic is that it has to have transparency. Transparency is key. Transparency says that I trust you not just with the little, but I trust you with everything. Number three, it has to have trust. Trust has to be involved. Trust has to be there. If there is no unity, if there's no transparency, if there is no trust, you really don't have a marriage. Y'all just together. Okay? So, verse 24. Verse 24. The term joined or cleave should tell us the type of deep, enduring bond that is between two opposites. What are you saying? Marriage is not just about a physical bond that could potentially start the growth of babies. Understand that. It's not just that. It's not just the physical. And let me be very clear, though sex is a benefit and one of the beauties of marriage, your marriage should never be built on that. Does that make sense? It has to be deeper. It has to be more enduring, because let me tell you, that won't get you through the hard stuff. Does that make sense? So, the joined or cleave concept encompasses the emotional, it encompasses the intellectual, it encompasses the spiritual connection of two people who are trying and who are striving to get back to God together, right? So, the concept of being joined indicates a strong, committed relationship where both parties support and prioritize each other. You know how the teacher said in class, if there's something that's bolded and italicized and underlined, you can write that down. Support and prioritize each other. Now, I want to drop off this message here for some of my singles. For some of the singles who are maybe looking to be married at some point in your life, let me drop this off. If there is no support, or if there is no prioritization, if none of that stuff exists, you probably don't want that for a lifetime. Guarantee you, you don't want that. That's not even what God calls us to. God calls us to supporting one another. God calls us to prioritizing one another. And if you get one and not the other, you don't want that for a lifetime. You want somebody who's going to support you and you support them, who are going to prioritize you and you are going to prioritize them. You want somebody who make you feel like you worth something. That's what you want. And no, let me not do that. That's going to take me too far. All right, nonetheless, you want that support. You want that prioritization. That's what you're looking for when it comes to a lifelong partner. You don't want a lifelong partner who does not give you what you need, right? That's the join or cleave concept. They're giving you what you need to feel like you have value. Now, the Bible says after you are joined together or you cleave to one another, and that the two shall become what? One flesh. One flesh is the ultimate union of opposites, husband, wife. One flesh. Though the concept encompasses physical intimacy, there is a deep, comprehensive oneness that the writer is trying to convey. You say, well, what is that, Jeremy? Here's what the writer wants to convey. Number one flesh shares and sets goals for its oneness, not just for me. Because there are a lot of times where in marriage, we can't move around the me in order to see we, right? But within our oneness, we are sharing our goals and we are setting our goals so that we can be successful, right? Number two, one flesh shares and has mutual respect for its oneness, right? But not only that, but thirdly, one flesh shares and indulges in deep emotional and spiritual connections. What's happening, you may ask? This union reflects the profound mystery and the depth of the marital relationship, mirroring the unity and the diversity found within the Godhead. Just because you are one does not mean that you can't be diverse in your oneness. We're both just what? Striving to get to the same exact place, right? Okay, that was so good. That was real good. That was good. I gotta say that again. Look, one flesh. You say, that's what he had on the last slide. I know, it was so good. I didn't want you to miss your note. Shares, set goals for its oneness. It shares and has a mutual respect for its oneness. It shares and indulges in deep emotional and spiritual connection. We mirror the unity and the diversity found within the Godhead. Did y'all get it? All right, here we go. So, in today's society, where individualism and impermanence often overshadows commitment and unity. It's not going to last for a long time. It's all about me, and I don't want to look at it nobody else's way. This is where our society is right now. The biblical model of marriage and family calls for a counter-cultural commitment to permanence and fidelity. That is what the biblical model is calling us to. The biblical model says that I understand what culture says, but we have to be counter-cultural, right? The biblical model calls for us as couples to work through the difficulties, to work through the differences. Because let me tell you, whether you're married 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 5 days, looking to be married, here's your message. There is difficulties, there will be differences, right? Y'all married folk didn't help me. Okay. I said that with so much passion, and y'all just, you ain't gonna get me to go there with you. Okay. There are differences. There are difficulties. There are arguments. There are disagreements. But there are ways to handle all of that. There are incorrect ways that you should not handle any of it, right? All right, thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, man. You always on point, man. I love that about you. Look, here's the Mesa moment. I need to share this. We should always be looking and seeking reconciliation and growth rather than separation. We should always be looking for that, always looking and seeking reconciliation, looking for growth, instead of just checking out when you found out that the person was not perfect. Oops, sorry, I'm sorry. You're not perfect. I know your spouse says, oh no, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or they say, oh, they're just so perfect. Sorry, there's coming a time where you're going to find out how imperfect they really are, okay? And that's okay, because we should always be what? Looking and seeking reconciliation and growth. Why? Because remember, I told you a few slides back, we're sharing and setting goals, and we are mutually committed and mutually respecting each other because we're trying to get back to God. How? Together, right? So the saying should be, and the saying does go like this: everybody wants a good marriage. Everybody wants a good family, but nobody wants to do the work it takes for a good marriage and a good family. Everybody has the ideal. I want good marriage, want good family, but let me tell you, what you want takes a lot of work. Takes a lot of work. Why? Because there are differences, there are difficulties, there are disagreements, there is bickering, there is fighting, there's fussing, but you do it in the correct way and growth will show up. Does that make sense? So, verse 25. That's the verse 24 concept. I just gave it to you. That's the whole concept. Now, verse 25. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Now, the physical nakedness of Adam and the woman, who he will call Eve in chapter 3, claims total transparency and vulnerability between the two, right? He's claiming transparency. He's claiming vulnerability between the two of them. And so what you find is that within a good marriage, there is going to be total transparency, total vulnerability between the two. Why? Because there should not be anything about each other that we do not know, right? Here's the first century principle, first couple principle. In the ideal marriage and the ideal family, there is no hiding, there is no pretense. As partners, we should know each other and accept one another. I should know you, you should know me. And because I know you, you know me, we accept each other once we know who each other is. Let me tell you something. When you know, there are certain times that what we know, we try to change. We try to change it so that it can be better. I get it. But at some point, I have to accept what I don't like so that we can both grow to a place where God will want us to be. Right? There are times in our marriages where I'll look around, and I'm not talking about my marriage, I'm talking about just any old John marriage, all right? I look and I see, you know what? I don't really like that. You may say, I don't like that about this person, but why not grow with them? Marriage is not about two people coming together and staying the exact same. Let me tell you, marriage will make you grow in one way or the other. It's going to make you grow one way or the other. No choice in that. Because you can't stay the same. You will move, right? And let me be honest with you. Within that moving, it's perfectly normal where marriage and family share their deepest thoughts, fears, and desires without fear of rejection. That is ideal. Where we share and we share and we share and we share. The lack of shame between Adam and the woman Eve indicates a state of innocence and mutual trust. You say, what's the point? Within this context of marriage and family, the relationship should be free from guilt, fear, or manipulation. Cannot be fearful, cannot feel a sense of guilt, cannot feel manipulated within your marriage or your family. God didn't call us to manipulating each other. He called us to accepting one another where one another is, accepting each other for where we are so that we can grow together to get to where God wants us to be. Your relationship and write this down if you're taking notes, your relationship should be a safe space, right? It should be. That's what it's supposed to be, where both people are respected and valued for who they are. And let me be very clear as to what I'm saying. Love cannot flourish when the environment is not secure. Does that make sense? It's not going to go anywhere. It'll always be the same, and you'll always have the same argument at the same time, in the same place, talking about the same stuff. And you'll get tired of each other talking about the same thing at the same time in the same space. Well, if the environment was secure, both parties have to feel that. If the environment is secure, love will flourish. I promise you it will. So listen, I want to tell you, and I want to let you know on what we'll deal with next week from the ideal space. I want to tell you exactly what it is we'll deal with so that way you don't come in here shocked. A strong, healthy marriage creates a stable environment for raising children. Strong, healthy marriage. One that's trying to do it together. One that's trying to see God together. One that's trying to worship God together. One that's trying to be a living sacrifice together. One that shares goals. One that sets goals. One that's mutual in respect. One that's mutual in commitment. That's a strong, healthy marriage, and it creates a stable environment for kids. And we wonder why the environment and the way that society is going now, why kids are unstable. It's because stability of their environment is missing. It's not there. But not only is it not there, but when children, and I've learned this even within my own clan of kids, all right? I don't have a small sample size. I got a long, anyway. When children feel the stability at home, it helps them catch and appreciate the values that are trying to be instilled. It does not suggest that they will catch them while they're still children. It does suggest that it's something that is in them to where when life gets hard, when they become young adults, they remember, I remember when mom and daddy said that. And then, because I remember stuff that my parents used to tell me all the time. When I was my kid's age, did I follow it? Absolutely not. I didn't do it. But now I understand it and I appreciate it and I respect it because now it makes sense. There are things that you're going to teach right now that will not make sense. It's not going to make sense. But I promise you, if you stay the course, it'll show up for them when they least expect it. It's going to show up. So what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be doing this. Kids will respect, love, take on the faith of parents who actively show it consistently. I'm going to deal with that next week. They're going to take it on when they see it consistently. The stability of your marriage provides your children with a model of how relationships are supposed to look and how they are supposed to function. You never want to tell them something that you cannot show them. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to tell them and they're going to say, yeah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. And what they're going to do, they're not going to do what you said, they're going to do what they see. They are more apt to follow what they see than what they hear. What they hear. My kids now, especially my younger ones, they do everything that I do. They do everything that Tam does. And they try to model it in such a way where it is the exact same. My mother was here 3 months ago when Travis was born. And we were both at the hospital, you know, with Travis, and we were trying to get to know him and bond with him. And my mom says, you know what? Your girls are really, they really look and they really observe. And we said, well, why is that? Because I forget what she said she was doing. I was doing something, and they said, Buela, that's what they call her, Buela. Buela, she said, what? You not doing that right. She say, I've been here for 69 years. She wouldn't mind me telling y'all that. 69 years. What do you mean I'm not doing this right? They say, and Tatum is my spokesperson of them all. Tatum says, well, Mom don't do it like that. And I could only imagine what my mother said after that. She probably said something along the, girl, you don't get away from me. Anyway, what am I trying to show you? What I'm trying to show you is that what you do prepares your kids to build on whatever it is that you are built on. Whatever you do. And we should take seriously of the standard of setting up our kids to build healthy. Just stop right there. Build healthy. A lot of our children are not set up to build healthy. We should take seriously the standard of building healthy. Build healthy. Build healthy. I'm going to stop right there. Build healthy. This is just the ideal. Next week, we'll explore the ideal. After the fact, we'll begin to get into it. All right? If you are a child of God today, you need prayer, we want to pray. You need prayer, we want to pray. You need Jesus, we'll baptize you today for the remission of your sins. Come believing in his word, repenting of your sins, confessing the name of Christ, the sweetest name known to man, that he's the Son of God. You baptized, God will wipe your slate clean, all because of the blood of Jesus. If you're here today and you need to respond, however you need to respond. And if you say, you know what, I don't even feel comfortable coming down front. We even got you covered there. There is a card in the back of the pew that you can write your thing on and turn it in to one of our shepherds. They'll pray for you, I promise you. On Mondays, they get a list of folks that want prayer. They'll pray for you. If you want everybody to know that you need prayer, we'll all pray for you. And if somebody in here does not pray for you, guess what? They're just visiting. They're not members here. All right? Okay. Stand to your feet. Where you at? Stand to your feet. We're going to sing now. Will you come?